In the opulent dining hall of La Table, a waitress humiliated a guest, unaware that the woman she belittled was a food critic, capable of ruining her career and the restaurant's reputation. However, the way Martha responded to the insult stunned even the most seasoned onlookers. Let's start from the beginning. Martha Green stepped into La Table, one of the city's most prestigious restaurants. Sophistication exuded from every detail. Crystal chandeliers, perfectly set silverware, and the faint hum of classical music. Martha acted as though she were just another guest, not one of the country's most influential restaurant critics. Her table was tucked into a corner near a panoramic window. Approaching the table, Linda, a pale-skinned waitress in her 30s, shot Martha a cold glance, clearly displeased with her presence. "Your order?" Linda asked without a greeting. Maintaining a calm expression, Martha ordered the shrimp salad and the house specialty risotto. 10 minutes passed, and her food still hadn't arrived, though diners who came after her were already enjoying their meals. Martha raised her hand to catch Linda's attention, but the waitress deliberately ignored her. Another 5 minutes went by before Linda finally approached. Martha politely asked, "Excuse me, is my order ready?" "You're not the only one here. Wait your turn," Linda replied irritably, without a hint of apology. Turning to a colleague, she said loudly, "Some people just love to complain without even tasting the food." When the dishes finally arrived, the salad's greens were wilted and the risotto was barely warm. Martha requested the salad be replaced, but Linda folded her arms and retorted, "If you don't like it, eat at home. Our kitchen is busy." Martha silently took a few photos of the plate with her phone. She noticed how Linda's attitude changed when she interacted with white customers. Smiles, friendliness, impeccable service. The contrast was glaring, and it filled Martha with quiet anger. She decided not to make a scene just yet, but waited for the right moment. A murmur swept through the restaurant. The black limousine outside signaled the arrival of Jacques Leroy, the famed chef and owner of La Table. The staff sprang into action, eager to impress. But Linda remained dismissive, confident that nothing would come of her behavior. Little did she know who was sitting at her table. Chef Jacques Leroy entered the dining hall with an air of authority. A tall man with silver temples and a perfectly pressed white chef's coat, his gaze swept over the room, attentive to every detail. Guests at various tables perked up, waving to the chef, and he responded with warm, brief smiles. Seeing him, Linda instantly shifted her demeanor. Her cold confidence melted into exaggerated servility. Martha, however, remained composed. When Jacques stopped by her table, she greeted him with a reserved smile. "Welcome to our restaurant, madam. Is everything to your liking?" he asked in his smooth, French-accented voice. Linda froze behind him, her face pale, as though sensing something was amiss. "Not quite," Martha replied evenly, her voice calm but laced with authority. She gently pushed the plate with the wilted salad to the table's edge. "These greens look as if they were picked yesterday, and the risotto resembles a poorly stirred rice pudding." Jacques frowned and picked up the plate to examine it. His expression darkened as he turned to Linda. "How did this end up at her table? This is unacceptable," he snapped. Linda stammered, scrambling for excuses. "I don't know. Maybe the kitchen. We were busy." Jacques cut her off. "To the kitchen, now, and send the sous chef here immediately." Linda hurried away, her previous arrogance replaced with panic. Martha observed the scene with a neutral expression, though she felt a flicker of satisfaction. Moments later, Daniel, a young trainee waiter, cautiously approached Martha's table. He had been silently observing the events of the evening. "Madam, I want to sincerely apologize for her behavior," he said softly. "I know how it must have looked. It's no excuse, but unfortunately, such things do happen." His genuine tone softened Martha momentarily, but she remained focused. Minutes later, Jacques returned with the sous chef in tow. "Madam," he began, his tone respectful but firm, "we would like to make amends. Allow us to prepare for you the finest dishes from our menu, personally overseen by me." "Thank you," But this isn't just about the food, Martha replied as she rose from her seat. Her voice remained steady, but every word carried weight. It's about how you allow your staff to treat your customers. Perhaps you'll read more about it tomorrow. Without another word, she walked toward the exit, leaving behind the dining hall, buzzing with whispers and stunned expressions. Jacques stood still, realizing he had encountered far more than a demanding guest. From a distance, Linda watched, her confidence crumbling like a house of cards. The next morning, La Table woke up at the center of a media storm. Jacques Leroy, used to glowing reviews, was dumbstruck when he saw the headline. Elite restaurant with discriminatory service, an experience I cannot recommend. The article, published in a prominent gastronomic journal, ruthlessly exposed the systemic neglect faced by black patrons at the restaurant. The author's name, Martha Green, left no room for doubt about the piece's significance. The article spread like wildfire. It detailed Martha's visit, highlighting the waitress's rudeness, the poor quality of the food, and the stark contrast in how white and black customers were treated. Other patrons who had been at the restaurant that night began sharing their own stories in the comments. Many confirmed that Linda had a long history of selective and dismissive behavior, though no one had spoken up until now. Panic erupted at La Table. Journalists and bloggers gathered outside, seeking comments from Jacques. Linda, unaware of the article, arrived for her shift visibly anxious about the tense atmosphere among her co-workers. Before service began, Jacques assembled his staff. Holding a printed copy of the article, his expression was grim. "Does anyone want to explain how this happened?" he asked coldly, his gaze scanning the room. No one dared to meet his eyes. Finally, Linda tried to defend herself. "She was just a difficult customer. They're always looking for something to complain about." "They?" Jacques interrupted, his voice dangerously low. "Are you talking about the customers who pay to be treated with respect, or the woman who happens to be the country's leading restaurant critic?" Linda froze, her face draining of color. Breaking the silence, Daniel stepped forward, summoning his courage. "Chef Leroy, I saw how she treated Miss Green. It was unacceptable, and we all know this isn't the first time something like this has happened." His words broke the dam. Other staff members began murmuring their agreement. Linda's temper flared. "You're taking her side? Over mine?" But Jacques had already decided. "Linda, you're fired. Your actions didn't just hurt that customer. They've damaged the reputation of this entire restaurant. Collect your things and leave." As Linda walked out under the disapproving stares of her co-workers, Jacques addressed the remaining staff. "We're starting over, and it's not just about the food. It's about the culture of this place." La Table closed for a week to manage the crisis. Jacques acted swiftly, hiring a corporate culture specialist to conduct mandatory anti-bias and customer service training for all staff. Meanwhile, Linda became a symbol of the scandal. Videos of her behavior, recorded by other guests, began circulating online. Public sentiment was unforgiving, and even her former colleagues admitted they had long noticed her prejudiced behavior. Martha followed the developments closely. She received messages from readers thanking her for the article, as well as inquiries from other restaurant owners seeking advice on how to avoid similar mistakes. A month later, La Table reopened. The question on everyone's minds: had the restaurant truly changed? Early visitors noticed an immediate difference. Service was warm and attentive across the board. Gone was the tension that once marked the disparity in treatment between different guests. Martha decided to see for herself. She reserved a table without revealing her identity. Upon arrival, she was greeted by Daniel, now a full-fledged waiter. He led her to a window seat with a genuine smile. "Welcome to La Table, madam. If there's anything you need, just let me know." Throughout the evening, Martha observed every detail. Service was impeccable, the food exceeded her expectations, and the ambiance was inviting. At one point, she noticed Jacques himself, attending to a table of diverse guests, ensuring their experience was flawless. Near the end of her meal, Jacques approached her. "Miss Green," he said with a slight bow. Thank you for giving us another chance. Your critique taught us an invaluable lesson. Martha smiled. You've made the right changes, Chef Leroy. It's clear these aren't just surface-level improvements. They're genuine. When she asked for the check, Jacques brought it personally. Instead of a total, it read, "Thank you for helping us grow." As Martha left the restaurant, she noticed a couple photographing the new menu at the entrance. La Table had become popular again, not for its scandal, but for its transformation. Later, a colleague messaged her. "You didn't just write an article, you changed an entire system." Martha smiled, knowing that her actions had a ripple effect on the industry as a whole. La Table became a model for growth, proving that accountability and change can turn even the harshest critique into an opportunity to thrive.